You already know you gotta drink some water. One thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stay in touch with myself and like my ideas before I let the day run its course. Just doing little things for myself before I start the day or start doing like client work or anything like that. As of lately, I've been reading this new book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. It's Rick Rubin's book. I just started it. I mean, I'm barely in it. It's really dope. I love the connection of everyone's an artist, everything is creating because life is creating. It's pretty well documented that I lean pretty heavy on creating. I mean, I got the clothing just for it because it's that much of a personality trait of mine. I take the creative process very, very serious, and it's something I hold very close to my heart because it's something I indulge in every single day. The creative process, creating and making things and bringing ideas to life. And something the book touched on that I think is really dope and that I kind of, I guess, wanted to touch on today is the idea that I totally forgot the idea. It's the idea that our ideas aren't ours. The book describes it in a sense of like, ideas are just in the universe and we're just here to kind of capture them and bring them to life. This idea fascinated me when I read it because like I really resonated with it. I have said for a long time that I don't feel like my ideas are mine. I've talked to so many people about like, where do you get the ideas for videos or how do you come up with the crazy... Oh, let me fix this. I had someone telling me to stop touching the mic. So I stick to videos. But the idea that our ideas aren't ours and they're just in the universe and we are basically just vessels to bring ideas to life. That's all everything is. My ideas aren't mine any more than anyone else's idea is theirs. The idea doesn't even become yours when you execute the idea. I just think to take ownership of an idea is a crazy thing. I just feel like it's not yours to have. 8 billion people in the world. Obviously everyone's different, but ideas kind of come into your head. A similar idea could come into someone else's head. Completely unrelated and unprompted. It's really for us as artists and as humans just to be able to stay in tune to these ideas, and when you get one that resonates with you, it's on you whether you want to facilitate that idea and bring that idea to life, or you let that idea kind of fester and move on. There's nothing wrong with it. It's as a human being, it's your choice to choose what ideas you're executing on or what ideas you're bringing to fruition. Because in the act of bringing these ideas to life, they begin to attach to you. I see that it's difficult in a lot of people who does not attach with their ideas. People get the book, The Power of Now, kind of touches on it. People get very emotionally invested and attached to their ideas. They become their identity. And in a sense, I guess it is like what's in your mind is you. You're also just a watcher. Like you as a human being, as a living being, you don't really get to choose necessarily what information gets intaked at all times. You're just receiving all information. You're seeing things at all times. You're hearing things, tasting things, smelling things, feeling things. Obviously you can regulate it to a certain extent, but without being asleep or having my eyes closed and earplugs in and not breathing, I'm gonna intake information from my surroundings, from the room I'm in. So in that sense, what you're putting in does become you, but you can change the filter in you when receiving all these things. You can almost prioritize what information is needed for you and what is not. Now, in the long term, personally, I feel like the most ideal is you're able to just intake all information and just kind of be present in it, in the information. It's very overwhelming if you're just intaking everything that's happening to you at all times from all 5 senses and you're just like also trying to live your life. I feel like that's like unreasonable. You just work to get to a point where you're not trying to label and understand everything that's coming into you. It's just coming in. It is what it is. Nothing needs to be understood that you don't want to or don't need to understand. Things are just things. The saying ignorance is bliss has been told to me quite a lot because I personally feel like I live my life, maybe not on purpose, but in that vein, that ignorance is bliss. If I know this situation doesn't have a positive way for me to take it in, or it has a larger negative effect, I will willingly not avoid that situation. I will willingly not put myself in that situation, find ways around it, or just not interact with those people. And in one way you could see that as like running from your problems, avoiding stuff, pushing it off. I just find it that you're just regulating what's going into your filter. The same way if you get one of those Brita filters, you know, those things you put one of those, it doesn't create water. You pour faucet water into it and it filters into clean water. You get to choose what you're pouring into that filter. You don't pour apple juice into the filter and go, why didn't water come out? You feel me? A filter is a filter to filter out certain stuff, but I really hope this is gonna make sense when it all comes together. Filters are designed for a task. Like, you as the person, as the vessel, as the being, get to decide what are you pouring into your filter. What is your filter stopping, I guess is a better sense. Like, what filter are you using? Are you just having a general blanket filter and you take in whatever 10% of all information? Is your filter more pressed towards, are you an athlete? Maybe you don't need to retain all this information about plant life and you don't care about video games or movies. You get to choose what goes into your filter. When I say choose, it makes it sound a lot easier than it is, because it's definitely not just like a list you get to pick. I want this, I want that, I want this, I don't want that. It's something you gotta definitely work for and consistently work for, even after you forge your filter how you want it. If you're not constantly like paying attention to it and just like smoothing out the edges, that filter is gonna eventually change based on all the shit you put in. The same way you gotta change a filter in a fucking pitcher of water, you gotta update and change your filter as you grow. Your filter is not gonna be the same when you're 35 as when you were 16. It's just not. Be very conscious of the stuff you're allowing into the space in your brain. Our brains are supercomputers, but every computer has a capacity. It all has a storage limit. And as far as I know, you can't get the new update on the human body to add more storage. You just have to evaluate what you're storing and work to push out what you don't. Trauma and negative stuff can take up a lot larger portion of that storage. You know, on your iPhone, I'm sorry for everyone who has Androids, you could just, I guess, listen. You know, on your iPhone, you get the notification that says your storage is full. And you go into your storage and it shows you the progress bar of everything filling up your storage. There's this section of like data and whatever. It's like the gray, like the stuff you can't figure out how to delete. But it'll be this like section of stuff you can't delete. That's what trauma and memories and stuff do. It creates this like folder of memories and storage space being taken up that you're not quite sure how to delete. You got your photos, your apps. These are things you're like, you know, in your daily life, and you're like, all right, if I actively try, I can tune out my boss at work. When I come home, it's just work, do my work, come home. But then you have this like folder of things that you might not even know are taking up storage space. This might be some childhood shit, something someone close to you did that is just sticking with you and resonating with you and taking up storage space that you don't even know is there. It almost gives you the illusion that you don't have that storage space. I've watched it firsthand with people when they finally work through or come to that revelation, or after months of working on themselves, they finally can open up this folder and see, oh, these are the things that are taking up the space. And that's only step one, because just identifying the storage is great, because now you know what is holding up all this space in your brain. Step two is to figure out how to get rid of it. And sometimes getting rid of it isn't the answer. Sometimes you went through something traumatic in your life, and that's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. It's just knowing how to properly store that data without it holding up 50% of your storage, and you don't even know, and you only are operating at 50%. And you're wondering why you're just not retaining stuff, and it's just not clicking. And I don't know, pay attention to your filter. This is kind of a random tangent. Early morning thoughts. Ba ba ba.